Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another episode of Total Breakdown. This battle is the final in a best of 3 between Diplomatt and Rakdos as they battle in the semi-finals of the Minions of Fortune tournament hosted at Clan Community. Both generals are currently tied at 1 apiece. I want to mention once again that Clan Community is a great place for competitive Total War play, so make sure you check them out by following the link in the description below. The players in this tournament have to choose one faction as their main through the entire tournament, with rules to try and prevent any duplication from happening, or mostly happening. Now, I love the idea behind two commanders meeting each other multiple times, leading their factions to battle, having to keep adapting to their opponent based on previous battles. I think it just feels a little real. It feels like the generals from two armies, from two nations, constantly butting heads. This time around, the Warriors of Chaos are once again led by a Chaos Lord in the air with a Potion of Toughness, alongside a Chaos Sorcerer of Death in the air, bringing Arcane Conduit, a Scroll of Power, and the Fate of Buna, and an Exalted Hero is in the air as well. The army consists of a fodder unit of Chaos Marauders ranked up to rank 1, with aspiring champions to bolster any line. The 3 units of Chaos Warriors ranked up to rank 1 will do well to hold a line, while the 3 units of Chaos Warriors with halberds seem to be an armor-piercing anti-large response to the previous cavalry-heavy greenskin armies. The Chosen are an expensive pick but can do a lot of work, while the Hell Cannon looks to force the enemy's hand while causing some early damage. The Orc Warboss continues to lead the Greenskins on Boarback with the Potion of Foolhardiness, the Potion of Toughness, Stand Your Ground, Wah, and Foe Seeker. The Night Goblin Shaman brings in Sneaky Stealin', Sneaky Stabbin', Itchy Nuisance, Gorkle Fix-It, and the Scroll of Power, while the Goblin Big Boss simply rides in on Wolfback. 2 units of Nasty Skulkers, one ranked up to rank 1, alongside the 8-Peak Loonies, will hope to supplement a frontline of 3 Savage Orc Biggin units and a unit of Black Orcs. Then, we've got 2 units of Goblin Archers and the Rusty Errors that can be used to great effect. A reduced cavalry contingent consists of Goblin Wolf Riders, Goblin Spider Riders, and 2 units of Orc Boar Boy Biggins, while the Goblin Rock Lobber will also look to pull the enemy forward. Alright, as always, we're going to start with a conversation about deployment, and it's relatively simple from both sides of the field, though the Greenskins do try something a little clever. Now, let's start with the Warriors of Chaos. Up front, we do have the leadership flying in the air, able to get some early scouting or damage in if necessary. They are able to see on this map in both directions, just to get a little bit of vision, as you can see on the mini-map on either side of these rocks, though of course there is still a large hidden portion. We do also have the front line itself, consisting of the Chaos Warriors, as well as the Chosen over here. So again, a very sturdy front line, able to hold the line, and able to cause a lot of damage as well. Right behind them, we do have the Aspiring Champions, able to dive in wherever necessary to provide support. All the way at the back, we do have the Chaos Warriors with halberds. These guys are able to shut down any enemy cavalry that might be coming in, screen the rear from any potential charges, of course, and of course protect the Hell Cannon over here, which is also protected by that unit of Chaos Marauders. So if anything clever comes in, these guys can try and shut it down. And you will notice that the Hell Cannon is kept atop a hill just to make sure it's not obstructed. It does have an arc of fire anyway, but this helps make sure that it does not ever get obstructed. Now let's take a look at the Greenskins. Again, a relatively simple layout over here. You'll see the Nasty Skulkers are up front, in front of what is the main front line that consists of the Savage Orc Biggins on either flank, and then the Black Orcs over here. We've got the 8-Peak Loonies, not sure why it keeps calling them Night Goblins here, as well as the Savage Orc Biggins. So a relatively strong front line here, and you'll notice the Nasty Skulkers, they do have their Opportunist Murderer ability, I believe it's called. So you want to make sure that the Nasty Skulkers are almost always winning their engagement, so they get the benefits of that ability. Pushing forward already, you'll see, and meanwhile back here we do have 2 units of Goblin Archers on either side of the Rusty Errors over here, again just to provide that range support. Back here we do have the Orc Boar Boy Biggins on either rear flank, with the Forest Goblin Spider Riders able to push in and provide support to either of these Orc Boar Boy Biggins as needed, or of course these guys can move as one collective. And then all the way at the back, the Goblin Rock Lobber that does have to push forward to get some of those initial shots off. Finally, here's a little clever bit here. The Goblin Wolf Riders trying to stay hidden in the shadow, I guess, of this giant little construct slash rock here, outcropping, trying to stay hidden, but of course needs to be very careful. If they want to try and do a flanking maneuver, they will be quite visible over here. So I think the Greenskins were hoping to really pull the Warriors of Chaos over here with their Rock Lobber, but unfortunately a Hell Cannon has been brought in response, and the action is already underway as the Hell Cannon does have full range and open shots off instantly. Trying to find words to swap instantaneously out with. I need to buy myself a thesaurus or something, but here you go. You'll see that first shot comes in from the Hell Cannon, or the second shot, I believe. A good target here, aiming at the Black Orcs, and the first shot did do a little bit of damage. And at this point, you'll see the leadership does push forward. We've got the Exalted Hero here, trying to get some scouting off over here, getting some information over here as well. I think the Chaos Lord being sent in, as well as the Chaos Sorcerer of Death, just trying to spot as many enemy units as possible, and they did see the Nasty Skulkers, so a little bit of information gleaned there. And I think they also saw the Goblin Wolf Riders, who have pulled back a little bit, but they know the jig is up, so there's no real point anymore. And meanwhile, over here, you'll see the Hell Cannon does a decent amount of damage to these Black Orcs, gets a square hit, and causes a fair amount of hurt. Good targeting there as well. The Black Orcs are definitely a very threatening unit. They don't break very easily, and they can cause a lot of damage. So, trying to get that damage into them nice and early, reducing their morale so they're quicker to break, and reducing their health as well, reducing their unit count. Good work there, and of course these guys are clumping up a little bit, so some of that damage does spread. The Rock Lobber, meanwhile, is responding by opening shots off at the Chosen. Also a good target there, because the Chosen, of course, are very heavy hitting. They are an expensive unit, so it's a good idea to try and take care of them. But in response, the Black Orcs, I think, taking a lot more damage, because the Hell Cannon is significantly more accurate than the Rock Lobber. So the Chosen not really taking too much hurt yet. Another shot does go in, causing a little bit of damage there. So again, not a bad target from either army here, but unfortunately the Hell Cannon is significantly outperforming the Rock Lobber there. Meanwhile, you'll see our first Fate of Buna. The Fate of Buna does go down on the Savage Orc Biggins. Decent enough target there. The Black Orcs have already taken a fair amount of hurt, so might as well spread that love, so to speak. The Savage Orc Biggins taking some decent damage. Not a bad call, trying to shut these guys down before front lines even meet. Now over here, you'll notice a nice little bit of management. The Chosen do get pulled back before the enemy gets too close. The Chosen are pulled back, and instead the Chaos Warriors with Halberds are sent in to fill that gap. So just a nice touch there, just a small bit of adjustment there, just to make sure the front is as strong as possible. And you'll see the Black Orcs continue to take hits from the Hell Cannon there, and meanwhile these Goblin Wolf Riders are sort of pushing around, trying to get back there, and they want to shut that Hell Cannon down as quickly as possible, because it is causing a lot of damage. And you'll notice the Rock Lobber continues to get shots in, but just not doing as much work, unfortunately. Not accurate enough to get the work done. Meanwhile, over here, you'll see the lines finally start to meet as these charges go in. The Exalted Hero dives into the Savage Orc Biggins as the Chaos Warriors follow as well. The Exalted Hero now kind of trapped in place with the Orc Boarboy Biggins. Very risky because they are anti-large, and Smoke Bomb does go down from these Nasty Skulkers. Great work there, making sure speed is heavily reduced on the Exalted Hero here, making sure he can't get away, and he continues to take a lot of damage from the Orc Boarboy Biggins for as long as possible. Meanwhile, the front lines are continuing to push down. You'll see the Greenskins are all pushing down, trying to engage everybody, and the Chaos Sorcerer of Death now pushing off to this side as the Goblin Wolf Riders have tucked away and are staying put for now. Over here, you'll see that the Chaos Warriors with Halberds have pulled back. They know what's coming. It's pretty predictable, so they're making sure that they're able to respond as quickly as possible when that inevitable rear charge does come in. Over here, you'll see, though, the Greenskins are piling on a little bit. The Nasty, or rather the 8-peak Loonies are pushing in as well. The Nasty Skulkers doing a great job of holding the Exalted Hero there, causing a lot of damage there with all these units in place. The Hell Cannon tries to provide some support, gets a great deal of damage into the Nasty Skulkers, gets them terrified almost right away with the Chaos Sorcerer of Death flying in, as well as the Exalted Hero in there, and that shot from the Hell Cannon doing so much damage and so much to their morale. These guys are terrified off, but you'll see the Orc Warboss as well as the let's slow it down for a second here. A lot going on. The Orc Warboss and the Goblin Big Boss dive in to try and shut down the Chaos Sorcerer of Death. The Forest Goblin Spider Rider dives in as well, and you'll see another shot from the Hell Cannon coming in there, lighting everybody up, doing a fair amount of damage, scaring these Savage Orc Biggins, scaring some of these Orc Boarboy Biggins, and causing a lot of damage to these Forest Goblin Spider Riders as well. Meanwhile, as the fronts meet, you will see the Aspiring Champions decide to dive in the center here. Great call. They were just pulled a little bit and pushed into the center here, because that's where the Black Orcs are coming, and they are extremely threatening, of course, to the Warriors of Chaos frontline. So Aspiring Champions dive in, provide that support, and this is where the Greenskins have doubled down as well. Meanwhile, you'll notice here the Goblin Archers are opening shots off, trying to get some damage into whatever possible. Right now, they are targeting the Chaos Lord. Good idea to target enemy leadership, but you'll see the Chaos Lord doesn't really give a damn and decides to dive in with a nice rear charge into the Savage Orc Biggins. Now, these guys are anti-large. But that charge in from the rear is going to do a fair amount of morale damage, and the Chaos Lord is able to get away if necessary. Meanwhile, you'll see over here we do have Gorkle Fix-It going down, and that's not a bad idea. We don't see this spell very often, but that does a lot of damage to Vigor, and Vigor reduction can cause a lot of damage to attributes. Obviously, it's temporary, but it's a great call to get that down there, and of course, with the speed reduction going down as well, some of these guys are able to actually get away from this extremely threatening Warriors of Chaos front line, and you'll notice between the Aspiring Champions and the Chaos Warriors in the front here, this unit of Savage Orc Biggins has very quickly been taken care of. These guys had no business there, and so they are going to start routing very soon. Meanwhile, back here, you'll see the Goblin Wolf Riders finally pushing in, and you'll see these Chaos Marauders actually abandoning the Hell Cannon, pushing forward. Not really sure why they did that. There's no real fear of the Greenskins pushing in through the front at any one location yet, so the Chaos Marauders could have actually stayed back there and screened this incoming Goblin Wolf Rider charge. Meanwhile, over here, you'll see these nasty Skulkers now trying to dive in to provide some support on this flank, and the Orc Boar Boy Biggins as well, trying to dive in to try and respond to the Chaos Lord diving in and causing, as I said, a significant amount of damage to these Savage Orc Biggins. At the same time, we do have Sneaky Stabbing going down on these Savage Orc Biggins, increasing their melee attack and perhaps more importantly, their armor piercing to try and take care of the Chaos Warriors. Again, extremely heavily armored, so Sneaky Stabbing is always a great call. Meanwhile, the Hell Cannon continues to provide some support. A lot of damage, I think, being done to the Warriors of Chaos's own units, actually, but you will see that shot does more or less completely take care of the Savage Orc Biggins. These guys continue to dive in, though, and over here, you'll see as we kick into full speed, the Orc Boar Boy Biggins do dive in, and they will cause a significant amount of damage as they sort of run through their own lines and hit these guys, and you'll see the Smoke Bomb does go down from the Nasty Skulkers as well, slowing these guys down, making sure they're not able to get away, and over here, you'll see the Goblin Wolf Riders do dive into the Hell Cannon and cause a little bit of initial damage as that last shot does go off, but these Chaos Marauders now very quickly responding over here, trying to shut these guys down, trying to scare them away as the Goblin Archers continue to open fire into the Chaos Lord. Meanwhile, over here, the right flank continues to sort of be a bit of a stalemate as the Exalted Hero holds his ground alongside the Chaos Warriors, trying to scare these guys off. The Forest Goblin Spider Riders very quickly scared off. Meanwhile, back here, the Goblin Wolf Riders also scared off as these Halberds sort of come running towards them as well. The Chaos Lord, meanwhile, pulled away from this engagement to try and provide some support back there as well, and now pushing forward, and really, the Warriors of Chaos should have spent a little bit more time shutting down all of this range support. A lot of flying units being bogged down in the front line. They have the mobility and they are able to support against that ranged contingent that the Greenskins are more likely to bring than less. You will notice finally the Chaos Lord does decide to do just that. The Rusty Arrows are extremely threatening to the Warriors of Chaos because of their armor sundering capabilities, so deciding to dive in and do just that. Shut them down. The Exalted Hero comes in as well, trying to shut all this range support down. Of course, these guys are far enough away that they're able to actually fire in still, and these Orc Boar Boy Biggins very quick to respond. They're trying to get in there and provide some support and protect these guys. Meanwhile, you will see we do have a couple of spells going down. Gorkle Fix-It does slow these guys down to prevent them from getting away as the Orc Boar Boy Biggins come in and try and sandwich them and prevent them from well, getting out of there. The Hell Cannon continues to open shots off, but now not able to get as clean shots in, and the Goblin Wolf Riders here now seeing their opportunity once again, dive in on the Hell Cannon and cause a lot more damage this time, you'll see. So these Halberds up front do need to be pulled back right away, and they are very quick management there. Very impressive to see such quick response time. So right away they do get pulled back, and they're trying to scare these Goblin Wolf Riders off once again so that these Hell Cannons will be able to continue providing support. I do believe some of these guys are probably obstructed at this point. Yeah, at least one unit of obstructed archers there, and meanwhile the Rock Lobber continues to provide support and continues to do a decent amount of damage to morale. Of course, it's not too accurate, and these guys have decent leadership, so it's hard to get your money's worth from the Rock Lobber. But again, as we resume into full speed, you'll see here the Chaos Lord now tied down once again between the Goblin Big Boss and the Night Goblins here, as well as the Orc Boar Boy Biggins. The Orc Boar Boy Biggins very quickly taken care of because they are these Halberds over here, these Chaos Warriors with Halberds, so those Orc Boar Boy Biggins on their way out, but the Goblin Big Boss doing a lot of work over here. And you'll see we also have Itchy Nuisance going down, making sure these guys aren't able to get too much damage done. Melee attack and weapon damage both brought down, so the hits going through aren't as common, and the hits that do go through aren't as heavy hitting. Meanwhile, you'll see back here the Hell Cannon was actually left to die. You will have seen the Chaos Warriors with Halberds were sent back to respond, but then they were quickly turned around to try and hold this front again. That is probably the better call that was made here, because the front at this point, if it falls apart, one unit of Chaos Warriors with Halberds back here against these Goblin Wolf Riders wouldn't do much. Unfortunately, despite that attempt at holding the front, the Chaos Warriors did falter, and now these guys have free reign, and they're able to push in and come in from the rear, come in from the side, do whatever they please, and that is really not a good time for the Warriors of Chaos. And you'll see over here, these guys all trying to bog down and try and prevent the Orc Warboss from casting his abilities or using his abilities, trying to keep the Chaos Lord safe as well. The Lord needs to be pulled out of there because if he does fall, the Warriors of Chaos will not have a good time. You'll see all of these ranged units continue to provide support here. The Rusty Arrows especially trying to provide that support here as the Rock Lobber continues to get some hits in again, doing some damage here and there. The Chaos Marauders took a pretty hefty hit there, and back here you see the Goblin Wolf Riders actually chasing away this unit of Chaos Warriors who were routing, so making sure they're not able to get back. So good work there. Meanwhile, the Orc Warboy Big Guns here diving in to try and provide that support. Again, the Chaos Lord needed to be pulled away, unfortunately just unable to get out of there, now fully surrounded and taking a lot of damage. The Orc Warboss as well, however, very close to death too. Smoke Bomb does go down here, reducing the ability of any of these units from getting away, allowing the Orc Warboss to get away as well. So you'll see the Warboss away nice and safe, able to return into combat later if so choosing, but the Chaos Lord as well, despite the Smoke Bomb, able to get away and take to the air. Leadership faltering from both sides of the field, but of course the Chaos Lord is in a worse shape. The Goblin Wolf Riders, meanwhile, are able to now push forward and get some rear charges in here, which wouldn't be a bad call. A lot of these guys are obstructed, so better management over here would have made quite a bit of a difference as they continue to fire into these aspiring champions and scare them off. And you'll see, with the range support, with the Chaos Lord out of the field, the Warriors of Chaos do suffer a valiant defeat. And I do agree, it was quite valiant. Unfortunately, their inability to quickly and decisively shut down the Greenskin ranged contingent is what caused their ultimate demise, I believe. Between armor sundering, morale damage, and just regular HP damage, the ranged units were able to cause hurt, break the enemy's will to fight, and most importantly perhaps, support the front by reducing enemy armor. A small army was effectively able to hold back the Greenskin push that was nearly doubled in size, but the Chaos support structure was quickly taken out, leaving the Warriors to die for their Dark Gods, sending Diplomatt into the finals. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I think it is one of the best ways to learn, and it's always great to see such intense play from the community. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.